So now we're going to take a look at the Google Tag Manager. This particular piece of software, which is free from Google, is a very powerful tool, and it's very useful to know how to use this when running Google Ads, because you can do some really cool conversion tracking, and we're going to look at that today. So what is the Google Tag Manager? Well, it's a tool that allows you to inject tagging directly into a website. So instead of adding separate tags to your website, so as you already know in marketing, every tool or system has its own tag in order to track activity. Google Analytics has a tag, Google Ads has multiple tags for your conversion tracking. Other third-party pieces of software have tags, for example, HubSpot and things like that. The Google Tag Manager is basically a system that allows you to deploy your tags through it, meaning you can manage your tags much more easily. So here's an example. Say you wanted to add a Google Analytics and Google Ads global site tag to your website. So two tags that are pretty important in the digital marketing world. Instead of adding both pieces of code to your website directly, so, calling up a developer, maybe you're a developer yourself, going onto the website and editing the code itself within the website to add those tags into the actual content of the website, you can actually add these tags directly through the Google Tag Manager. So once that's installed on the system, you can actually go ahead and deploy any tags you require through the Google Tag Manager. So here's an example of visualization. You have your analytics tag, you have your Google Ads tag. Now these are just two examples. There are many more potential example tags you may wish to deploy on your website. It wouldn't surprise me if you had 5 or 10 tags currently on your website. The Google Tag Manager is the only tag you need to be installed by a developer. That gets put onto the website, and then for every other tag you need for your marketing, you can deploy it via the Google Tag Manager to your live website. So imagine your website's tagged with the Google Tag Manager. Within the Google Tag Manager, if you take a step back and look to the left of the screen, you can deploy multiple tags into the Tag Manager. So it's a very powerful tool, probably one of the biggest developments in digital marketing in the recent times. So to set it up, as I say, you need to set up your Google Tag Manager account, which we'll walk through in terms of how to set that account up. Once you've set your account up, you get what's called a container tag, and that container tag, which contains all the other tags you may wish to deploy, needs to be installed on all pages of your website. So you only call your developers once in order to install these tags, and technically you shouldn't necessarily need to contact your developer again for any tagging needs once this is done. This is why it saves so much time. So the container tag will insert all of the required tags you need for marketing directly into your website code. So again, it eliminates the need for developers to keep your tags up to date. So what is the advantage of the Google Tag Manager? Exactly, this is one of the biggest advantages is you know exactly which tags are being used on your website. I don't know if you've seen it before in other businesses, maybe it's in your business, where you don't actually know which tags are currently live on your website. You have multiple developers potentially, multiple members of staff who might have added tags in the past, and you don't exactly know what the installations are. With the Google Tag Manager, because all the tags are in the same place, you know exactly what tags are on your website, so it's very powerful. You can also remove website development costs, because once the tag is installed once by a developer, you don't need to go back to the developer to remove or add new tags in as your marketing program evolves and you add more systems or potentially remove old systems. So you can manage pretty much all tags from marketing tools. And in fact, some of the most key marketing tools are already pre-templated in the Google Tag Manager. And you can also do some very complex tracking. So for example, if we wanted to track a contact form with no thank you page, that would be one of the key kind of things from a Google Ads perspective the Tag Manager might be very useful for. Remember when we walked through the tracking side of things, when that thank you page came up, you can add that URL to your tag in Google and say to Google Ads, when the thank you page URL is generated, then track that as a conversion. Many websites don't have a thank you page, so how do you track a form submission in that regard? The Google Tag Manager is perfect for this scenario as well. So these are the examples of some of the typical tags you will see in Google Tag Manager. As you can see, there's templates for a lot of tools. And in fact, this screenshot, if I updated it, it would be even bigger. This is just a small sample of the templates available in the Google Tag Manager for you to install. Loads of different softwares and systems here, and it's very powerful to use. So next, we're going to create a Google Tag Manager account. We're going to install the container tag onto our website, and then we're going to start looking at how to track some more complex conversions going from there. So let's create a Google Tag Manager account. Here I am in Google, and I'm just going to click on the search bar, and I'm going to type in Google Tag Manager. First result, as usual, go onto Google Tag Manager's website. It's going to ask you to sign in, so I'm going to sign in right now. So I am now logged into the Google Tag Manager and I've created an account. So I've created a Google Tag Manager account. Remember, you need a Google account in order to access Google Tools. If you don't have a Google account and you enter your details, you'll be asked to create one. So now I've got a Google account and I'm logged into the Tag Manager. The next thing I need to do is actually create a Google Tag Manager account, which is going to be the account for the business that you're working in. Remember, some people have multiple businesses they manage if you're an agency or a freelancer. So every business you have on your books, you want to create an account for them. So I'm going to create one for Bob's Plumbers. So I've added all the information. The account name is obviously the business name. Choose your location, add your website, and then you have a number of options here. We're tracking a website. If you were tracking a device like an iOS app or an Android app, or an AMP page or a server, you might want to choose those options, but we're not looking at any of this today. This is nothing to do with Google Ads, so we're going to choose web because we're tracking a website. Once you've done that, click on create. There's going to be a load of terms and conditions. Just scan through them if you must, but I'm going to click yes and tick the box. And that should take us right into the Google Tag Manager, and this is our Tag Manager account. Now the account has been created, it pops up with the code. There are two pieces of code you need to install on your website. The first one goes into the head tag. If you're familiar with HTML, you'll know the head tag is what contains a lot of the page information. And then in the body tag, you have another tag in order to add into there. And in the body tag, that's the content of your website. The kind of thing people see on the page is contained in the body. You need to install the tag on both the head. So the head section's up here. This needs to go in the head area. And then this goes into the body area. These two pieces of code need to be inserted. This is the point where you would need a developer, but once you've done this, you can install and deploy tags to your heart's content without a developer. So I'm going to go ahead and take these two pieces of code and install them onto Bob's Plumbers. I'm not going to show you how I've done it because there are tons of different types of website infrastructures. There are WordPress, Shopify, Wix, all kinds of website builders out there that will have instructions on how to add these codes. I'll link the most popular ones in the description of this section. But I'm going to go ahead and add these pieces of code to the website. And when I come back, we're just going to validate those pieces of code are correctly installed. And we're back, and I've installed the tag correctly. Now, in order to validate this, there's one thing we're going to do. And the first thing is that we are going to press Control and hold Control down on your keyboard and press U. That will open up the HTML code of the website. So when you go into this area, this is all of the code for the website code base. And we're just going to double check and make sure the tag is in place. So I'm going to press Control, hold that down and press F to find. I'm going to type in Google tag. And there we go, it's highlighted it. So this is the first section, the one that goes in the head tag. So here's the Google Tag Manager code, and as you can see, the head tag opens up here. This is our Google Tag Manager snippet. And then if you go further down, you should see the end of the head tag down here. So that has successfully been imported into the head tag. And then the next one we want to look at, if we go down again, there's another piece of code. It's gone onto 2 lines, but nevertheless, if we go all the way along across here, this is our Google Tag Manager code again. Within the body tag, you can see the body tag starts up here, which is the whole body of the page. So both tags are confirmed and in place. You need to double check this as well. There are some additional validations we can do, which I'm going to go on to show you in order to make sure that Google can also see they're in the right place, which we'll cover shortly. But just double check you're looking at the HTML of your page just to validate what the developers have done to make sure they've gone in the right place. So here I am back in the Google Ads account, and the reason we're back here is because we're going to create some new conversions and use the Google Tag Manager to deploy them. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to Tools and Settings and then go to Conversions. And now we're in here, you'll see the old conversions we created previously. We're going to ignore those for now. And if you're going to do this and migrate to the Google Tag Manager, you'd actually want to remove these conversions and reinstall them via the Tag Manager. So I'm going to walk through how to install all of these typical conversions via the Google Tag Manager. So if I click on New Conversion Action and then click on Website, it's going to ask me to enter the website domain. So I'm going to enter that domain right now. Again, once done, you just click on Scan. That will basically scan the website and see which conversion opportunities are available. You don't necessarily have to pay attention to this and use this setting in order to create conversions. If you go down, you can create conversion actions manually. Now, this is where the Google Tag Manager comes into its own. So I'm going to click on Add a Conversion Action Manually. And you get this pop out here. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on the select category. Now this is going to be a lead form submission, so I'm going to click on submit lead form. You can click this drop down here if you want to use different actions as primary for bid optimization or secondary action not used for bid optimization. Of course, if you're generating leads with Google Ads, you want Google to know that a lead submission is going to be something to optimize from. You want leads as the basis of your campaign. If this was a secondary action just to see what's going on in the account and you don't want Google to optimize towards it, maybe it's a button click or some kind of page visit, you might click on secondary action not used for bidding, and if you just want to track those actions in the account. We're going to keep that as the primary action. The conversion name is going to be submit lead form. And we're not going to assign a value to the conversion. As mentioned previously, you should assign a value based on the likelihood of conversion outcome in terms of how many leads you generate, what the conversion rate of those leads are, your average order value, in order to backtrack and understand, reverse engineering that process, how much a lead is actually worth to your business. We've covered this already. If you can't remember this section, that you can go back into the materials and find out how to calculate this as well. Because it's a lead form submission and an individual, once we've got their details, is going to be one lead, we're not going to count every lead, we're going to count one. So for lead form submissions, you want to count one. For purchases, you want to count every single purchase because it's money in the bank. We're going to leave all of these settings the same. We've covered this already in terms of attribution models and the days of the window. We're going to keep all of that the same, and then we're going to hit done. Once done, hit save and continue. And then you get to this section here. Now, you have three options. Now, we're obviously using the Google Tag Manager. So click on the Google Tag Manager option up here. And then this is going to give you the information you need to create the Google Tag Manager tag. So we're going to need this information. Keep this saved somewhere. But what we're going to do now is, now we've generated this conversion, we're going to use the Google Tag Manager to actually deploy this conversion action. So here I am back in Bob's Plumbers, and the reason I'm back here is because I want to demonstrate the form to you to show you that the thank you page doesn't generate and that there's a success message when the form is submitted. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this form very quickly. And I've completed the form. I'm going to click the submit button, and what you're going to see is there you go, there's a success message on the form. However, there's nothing in terms of any URL changes. So how do we track this? We of course use the Google Tag Manager. So if I jump back into the conversion we've just created with the details here, we need to import this information using the Google Tag Manager in order to fire this conversion at the right time. So if I go back to the Google Tag Manager, within this system, I can actually go ahead and create the conversion. So if I click on new, I'm going to call this tag Google Ads, and then add a hyphen, and then do lead form conversion as the name. So it's important when you go into Google Tag Manager and you create a new tag to name it appropriately. Call it the system name first, followed by the action second. Google Ads is the system, lead form conversion is the action. So if I go into tag configuration, if I click anywhere in this box, it can tell me what type of tag I would like to deploy. Of course, you've got a number of obvious default options around Google Analytics, but we're of course tracking conversions in Google Ads. So I'm going to click on Google Ads conversion tracking. When you click that, there are a number of fields to complete. You'll see them here. Now, what you need to do is go back into your conversion in Google Ads, and you'll see these fields here correspond to the fields required in the Google Tag Manager. So starting with the conversion ID, if I select that, copy it, and paste it under conversion ID. Same goes for conversion label. If I copy this and paste it under the conversion label, that's going to import the conversion we've created here in Google Ads into the Tag Manager. So this will deploy on the page at the right time. We haven't decided the rules for when this will deploy yet. We're just simply building the tag itself in order to decide how the Tag Manager will deploy it, which we'll go on to in a second. You can assign a value to the conversion. So the same thing I've explained previously, you can assign a value if you know the value of if you know your average order value and you know how many leads it takes to get to one sale, you can reverse engineer your lead value or your conversion value. If you're in e-commerce, it's a lot easier. You could literally just define the value of the sale. But we're going to leave this blank for now. These two fields are mandatory, the conversion ID and conversion label. These ones are non-mandatory in terms of the transaction, conversion value, and currency code. So right, we've got our tag basically ready to fire. So I'm going to click on Triggering. How do we want this tag to fire? What do we want it to do? Well, if you click on triggering, that's going to come up with a few default rules that are default within the Google Tag Manager. You've got content initiation, you've got general initialization, and you've got all pages. So basically, all of these tags will fire anytime something loads or when a page opens. We don't want that. We don't want conversions to fire every time you open a page. Otherwise, you'll double and triple track. So if I click on the plus button up here, I'm going to create a new trigger for this tag. And I'm going to call this trigger form submit home page. So we're going to track the form here on the home page of bobsplumbers.co.uk. I'm just going to refresh the page so I get rid of the success message. So we're going to track the form on the home page. So if I go back to tag configuration and click on the button here, you'll see there are a number of ways we can trigger this tag to fire. We can do it on page views, we can do it on loaded windows, we can do it on clicks, if somebody clicks a particular link or an element on the page. And the obvious one we're going to use here is the form submission option. So if you click on form submission, you get two options. You can track all forms or some forms. All forms means this tag will fire regardless of any form that it is across any page of the website. But of course, we've called this form submit homepage because we want to track it independently. We want to know what page has generated the sale or the lead. So instead of having all forms ticked, click on some forms. Now we add an additional rule on top because of course we want to just literally track the home page form submission. So if you click this drop down option here, you can choose the page URL, and you can do page URL equals, contains, starts with, ends with. So I'm going to choose ends with because we just want the page URL to contain the base URL for the home page. Anything after the home page in terms of the / and other page URLs, we don't want to track those now. We want to track the home page only. We'll create new conversions for different pages just so we can track these submissions independently. So page URL ends with, and of course this is our base page URL. I'm going to drop that in. I'm going to delete some of these characters because they're not needed. I'm going to keep it as the base URL and then hit save, and then hit save again, and then hit submit, and then hit publish. And I'm going to basically, when you publish a tag, because there's so many different people potentially working in the tag manager, or maybe even for your own reference, you may wish to leave a note or a name of the tag you've just, but not the tag you've published, but the update you've just published. Whenever you publish a tag to Google Tag Manager to the live website, you're making an update to the tag container. So it's good to leave a note for whenever you do that. You don't have to. Some people don't, and it's not necessarily crucial, but I think it's just good practice. So I'm going to give the tag a name. I'm just going to give this a name and call it Google Ads Tags Added. And I'm going to give a description of the change as created the conversion tracking tag for home page. And then hit continue. And then you'll see the tag is publishing. And there we have. We've got a tag published and it's ready to go. Version 2 has been added. So we've now published that tag to fire at the point of that form submission, but there's still one more task we need to do, because as you saw, maybe you saw the warning message I saw earlier on the page, or maybe you've seen down here on point number 2 within the instructions, we need to install something called the conversion linker tag. And this is a tag that sits on all pages of the website that basically allows Google Ads to understand which pages people are going to and allows them to track conversions effectively. So we're going to install the conversion linker next in order to complete the process of tracking the form submission on Google Ads. So as you can see, we've published the second version of the container tag, which is now live. So now we need to install the conversion linker tag, and this is all done within the Google Tag Manager. So in order for us to do this, if you click on the back button, that's going to take us back to our tag accounts. Click on the tag you're going to edit, and we're back into the Google Tag Manager for this account. So if you click on tags, you will see the tag we've created is there. So we want to create a new tag, and we're going to call this tag the Google Ads Conversion Linker. And what we're going to do is create the tag. So again, we're going to click on tag configuration, and look at that, it's right there for us. Conversion linker. Enable linking on all page URLs, enable linking across domains. So if you wanted to link domains, you can add them here. So say, for example, you're tracking a website with multiple domains on the way to conversion. You could tick this box and do that. Of course, bobsplumbers.co.uk is all on one domain, so we don't need to do that, but we want to enable linking on all page URLs. So basically, you want to pass information between the URLs on the page. And then triggering wise, very simple. Click on the triggering, all pages is already set up and ready to go. You hit save. And again, we're going to publish, and we're going to give it a descriptive name, added conversion linker, added Google Ads conversion linker tag to all pages. Right, okay, so hit publish. And there we have it. We have 2 tags published now, including the conversion linker. So that task has now been completed as well. So now we can accurately track form submissions when the form submits. Now, if we go back again and go back into the container tag, you will see there are, if you click on tags, 2 tags now live and published, all ready to go. Now, the question I can hear you asking is, how do we know this works without going into Google Ads and waiting for conversions to come through? How do we know this tag is going to fire at the right time? Well, luckily you can test and debug your tags within the Google Tag Manager. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. We're going to actually test our form submission tag in Google Tag Manager. So I'm back in the Google Tag Manager, and we're going to test the tag we've just created. In order to do this, we need to go into what's called preview mode. Now, if you go to the top right hand corner here, you can see there's a preview mode button. If you click this, that will allow you to enter preview mode, and in order to do so, you need to enter your website URL that you're creating the tags for under here. And once you enter it here, you need to click the blue button that says connect. And what this will do is Google Tag Manager will connect to your website, and you'll get this little floating widget to tell you that it's connected. Now, if you click back into the Tag Manager window that was connected and hit continue, you'll see a breakdown of the tags across your website. All the tags in Google Tag Manager that you've published will show here. You'll see the lead form submission is currently not firing, of course, because we haven't submitted the form. And currently the conversion linker is firing, which is good because we want this to fire on every single page that the user visits. So far, the page is loaded and we have 1 tag firing. Let's get this tag to fire. And in order to do that, of course, I'm going to complete the form within the preview mode. So I'm going to go ahead and add all the details to complete this form. So I've added all the details for the form. All I need to do now is hit submit. And there's my success message, and the form is submitted. Now we go into the Google Tag Manager and let's see if the form is submitted. So we've got all the steps here for the conversion. So you'll see every single step along this road in this path here, it will show you what's happened. So step 1, content initialized, no tags firing, still initializing. Content loaded. There's the conversion linker, it loaded. The DOM, which is the domain object model, don't be too hung up on acronyms here, has been loaded. So the actual website page, the DOM, is the domain object model, and that is the page you're looking at as loaded. The window's loaded, and then what did I do? I submitted a form, and there it is. Tag fired. Google Ads lead form conversion. The tag successfully deployed, so we know when traffic starts coming through to the campaign, it's going to track correctly. We've loaded the page, we've seen it load, we've submitted the form. It didn't fire twice, it fired once, as you can see here. So it succeeded, and we've now set up a conversion tracking scenario where the thank you page doesn't change, and we can track conversions effectively in the campaign.